Dari, so this is a quick video to introduce the Windows setting that I've been doing between a Windows Server 2022 system with all the latest fixes applied using a modern i9 CPU to a TerraMaster D8 hybrid. And the video is just trying to show some of the anomalies that I've found. Firstly, on the good news front, I was asking how to select or resync a RAID 1 array, a RAID 1 being a mirror of disk 1 and 2. And I've received a reply from TerraMaster support, which I need to test. And the reply is the following. For RAID 1 mode, when a disk is failed, please keep the hybrid on and replace the failed drive with a new drive. The rebuild will automatically take place, the HDD light will be flashing orange, and when the rebuild is complete, it's going to go green. I do have some technical questions which, if this could be answered by TerraMaster support as to how is this being done. In other words, for any kind of RAID 1 setup, a mirror setup, unless there's a bitmap or some record on each disk of what is written to, then a rebuild actually means an entire disk copy. So in other words, if the TerraMaster is not maintaining some record on the drives, drive 1 and drive 2, as to what's being written, then when a new disk is put into the unit, the only option it has is to copy everything from drive 1 to drive 2. That's the only option it can possibly have. So I'd really like to know if that would be the case. I've done a quick calculation on timings, and if we had an 11 terabyte drive, well, mine's 12 terabytes, but when you put it in, Windows reports it as 10.9 terabytes, so let's call it 11, so it's 11,000 gigabytes, and you're writing at roughly 200 megabytes per second, so divide by 0.2. You've got that number of seconds to copy from a whole disk A to a disk B. So that's seconds, divide by 60. That is now minutes, and divide by 60 again. You get to about 15 hours. Let's call it 16 hours. So by my calculations, if a RAID rebuild means a full disk copy, as I think it probably does, it's probably a 16-hour recovery. So I'd really like to know from TerraMaster support if that's if my thoughts are accurate. Anyway, so I'll skip past my RAID 1 testing here because that comes up with a bad result, but that's possibly because I didn't wait for 16 hours. We'll go on to other things. We'll go on to using Windows Server Manager and the Windows storage subsystem. Let's see if I can get that up in real life so you can see what that is. Server Manager. Put that in the window there. There's Windows. This is the Windows Server System. You've got file and storage services. You've got things like volumes. You've got disks, and you've got storage pools. So you'll see, for example, the disks here. We've got the TerraMaster USB connected, drive 4 and drive 5. I'm not going to do the stuff online. I'm going to just go through what I've made a log of. So instead of using storage pools, you could just create a volume instead. So the two ways of creating storage in the Windows Server will be using disk management or using Server Manager. So the Server Manager is a slightly more professional way to do things. So, and there is a command line interface as well, and you can do it using PowerShell to optimize caching and other parameters, which I did once. But most people will use the interface through Server Manager. So here's an example of trying to create Windows volume. We say new volume. We've got to say on what computer, and you'll see immediately I can only find one of the two disks. It just cannot see the second disk. Just never sees it. So if I wanted to create a volume, I can only do one volume. I'm missing the second volume. That's no good. Windows Dynamic Disk, it appears from my research that and testing, it's just not supported. So here's an example where I've got the two drives as simple drives, so they're visible, both visible to the Windows Server System. You'll see they show up in Device Manager like this. I say I would like a striped volume. Okay, everything goes well until the last moment. So you say yes, you want to add the second disk in. You see both disks. So this is under Disk Manager, not under Server Manager. Got both disks, yeah, fine. Sign a drive letter, it's all looking good. Format the volume, what with? NTFSS, give it a volume label name. It's a stripe, so it's going to be, there's not going to be any mirroring, it's just going to be performance oriented. You're going to convert these to dynamic disks already. Yes, I want to do that. And that's the answer. The operation is not supported by the target. It just doesn't work. So that would apply to any dynamic disk operation. So there's other types of disks you can create, like a copy, for example, and that won't work either. I've tried the disk reset in Server Manager. And so back to Server Manager now, not the disk management. So back to Server Manager, the more sophisticated tool. That just doesn't work. It says reset, I'm going to reset it, and it says disk with same ID. So Windows is seeing both disks in some way as the same, I think. And therefore it's not letting me see the second disk. I think it's hiding the second disk. I thought this might be the GUI ID of the disk. So for reasons of paranoia, I took out the second disk. I took it to an Apple computer. I erased it on the Apple computer. I gave it a new format on the Apple computer with HFS. And that must produce a new GUI ID. I brought that disk back to the TerraMaster, and it's still exactly the same. So I think the key thing is that something is being seen as the same under the Windows Server platform, and that is preventing it doing these things. That's my guess. We go to storage pools. If you recall, on the Server Manager, you could actually have not just volumes, but storage pools. That's the more professional way to do things. So here's an example where I've got the two disks. Under disk management, you can see that they're both there. They're both unallocated. They're both online. We can see all the disks under Device Manager. And we see under Server Manager, this is the top level screen. And we've got a disk that I'm already using. We've got two TerraMaster 10.9 terabyte disks. And we've got this other NVMe drive, which is in the TerraMaster, but not being used for this test. So I say create a new storage pool. And then I have to give it a name. I didn't show that screen. And you can see it only sees one disk. So again, as with dynamic disks, something goes wrong, and I think it's because it can only see one disk. And I think that's probably something to do with the fact that some sort of ID is being duplicated as seen by the Windows system. Okay, that's the report for now. Hope that's interesting, and we look for some answers from TerraMaster. Thanks for watching.